Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today you joined me on the very first episode of a new project vehicle. So the project in question is a little bit newer of a project. Our previous projects have been a 1967 Camaro, 1981 Bronco, and a 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air. This is from the turn of millennium, a 2005 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive Lariat with a 5.4 liter tri-valve. I know I just said 5.4 liter tri-valve and some of you kind of cringed a little bit at that, but I promise you it's not such a big deal, and we will go through that because things have definitely changed in the truck market. Basically, I'm trying to answer this question in the truck market currently. Is it better to buy a older used truck that you know is going to have a problem and just replace the engine and you're good to go? Or is it better to go out and buy a new truck? I spec'd this truck out on Ford's website and it was something like $80,000 brand new, which strikes me as a lot of money. I bought this truck, admittedly a few years ago, for $8,000. Let's say the engine's going to be $7,000. I still feel like I'm money ahead, but I'm going to do all the adding up and calculations for you. So at the very end of the series, we'll be able to compare, the new truck to the old truck and all the cost benefit ratio with that. Is it worth it to keep an older truck on the road or just go out and get a new one? I'm gonna go ahead and venture a guess that it's better to keep the older one on the road. So a couple of my other fellow YouTubers have done videos over the years detailing why this engine in particular is one to avoid. And that was more than likely true, a few years ago. But again, that truck market has changed. The whole landscape has changed. Where a new truck is $80,000, a used one, even one like this, is nowhere near that cost. So even the used car market has gone bananas. It is just a different landscape than it was a few years ago. So to me, it's worth it to rebuild the engine in this truck. Also, I've had this truck for a few years. Me personally, when I bought it, I was kind of in a dark place. Things weren't going super good in my life, and this truck really helped turn it around for me. Not to mention, it's done a ton of work for me. This truck has literally built my entire business and subsequently my YouTube channel. It has hauled engines, it's hauled a bunch of my stuff, it has driven to Texas and to California a few times. I've taken it all the way up to Utah in the snow. I have towed the Camaro, I've towed the Bel Air, I've towed that Bronco, I've towed so much with this vehicle, and none of it would have been possible without my truck, and I really love my truck. So it's worth it to me to put the the money and the time and the effort into this vehicle, and I get to make a really fun series for you all to watch. So I really hope you join me on this series. This video series, the Project Billie series, I'm going to be calling it, it's what I nicknamed my truck, is going to be a more informal sort of vloggy thing where I just kind of go around and show what's going on. Do not worry though, I am going to be doing a full rebuild of the engine, how to remove the transmission, how to do the transfer case. That's not going anywhere. That is totally still happening. I just have, downtime when I can go, oh, look at what I've done so far on this, this, and this. And it'll be a little more informal and a little more relaxed than my typical, very structured content. So this is going to be a little more kind of off the cuff and a little more, sort of fun oriented. So before we start taking things apart, let's do a walk around of the truck so you can kind of get a feel for it. And I can show you exactly why I love this thing so much. So this is my 2005 Ford F-150 4x4 Lariat. It is a really nice truck, and honestly, my life wouldn't be possible without this thing. And it is our new official Two Car Pros project vehicle, codenamed Billie. And it is in outstanding shape. I just did the headlights on it. I've just repainted the grille. There's no dents, no dings. Heck, even the top looks great. Everything about this truck is pretty mint, and you can see why I wouldn't want to let this thing go. Even the interior's pretty good. The floor mat's a little used, but other than that, seats are in good shape. Interior looks awesome. Headliner's great. It has a sunroof. Like I said, four-wheel drive. But check it out. It's got 184,600. It's got 184,066 miles on it, and the engine is a little clattery. Let me show you what I mean by that. So you can really hear it on a startup, especially a cold startup. The engine is far from cold. I just drove it to work, but I want you to hear what I'm talking about. So hear how it kind of sounds like a diesel? You can kind of hear a little bit of slop in there. That's going to be the timing chains and the guides and the roller followers. Things like that go out on this engine all the time. And instead of letting something bad happen to it where it's irreparable, I'm going to be proactive about it and rebuild the engine. So why don't you come with me on that? So now we're under the truck, and you can see that this thing's pretty cherry. There's really no rust besides surface rust. There's no big holes or nothing. This is a really nice truck. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the muffler. I think I'm gonna do the whole exhaust, but today's journey is hopefully the transmission's out of it. I pretty much guarantee the transfer case is gonna be out of it, but hopefully we get the whole transmission, the exhaust, drive shaft, stuff like that. So that is what today's journey is all about. So a little update, we got the exhaust off there, front drive shaft's nearly out. The entire exhaust has been removed and it's sitting over there by the door, and I will probably just get a whole new exhaust system so it looks nice and clean under my soon-to-be brand new truck. So now you can see my transfer case is out, all my exhaust, like I said, is out, and check it out. Look how clean this truck is underneath. It's unbelievable. There's the back of our transmission. That looks pretty good. So now I need to take this transmission out because this guy is going to the rebuilder. What's missing? The transmission is all gone, and we can see the back of our engine doesn't have any leaks or anything. This engine is actually, comparatively to the other F-150s of this era that I've seen, is in pretty good shape, but I want to be proactive about, you know, rebuilding it, and I get to keep this block because I know this block, and the block is in really good shape. The whole truck's in really good shape, so I'd rather be on top of things instead of stranded somewhere. And the transmission came out pretty easy, no big hiccups. I thought this vent was kind of funny. Kind of comes up and then around and then whoop, it goes to the bell housing bolts and then comes down. It's a little goofy, but hey, that's all good. I'm gonna have this transmission rebuilt by my local builder, but truthfully, you could just order another one and slap it in. I think it's gonna be better for me if I just have this one rebuilt though. Hopefully it's more cost effective, and I know where the casing's been, so that's why I'm doing it that way. So I've made a little bit of progress here. You can see the entire lifter valley has been exposed. Check where they put the coolant temp sender. Wow, dude, that is not cool, Ford. I don't dig that. I wonder if it's like a 15-hour job. And look at all the connectors they have on the back side of the intake manifold, and then they bolted to the back side of the intake manifold with that. There's a vacuum line here that eventually leads up to this T-junction that goes to the brake booster. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna custom modify it so it's not that like really rigid hose. I'm gonna keep it just a regular line with a hose clamp. It doesn't need to be that, you know, specialty thing. It's just handling vacuum for the booster. It's not anything super sensitive. As long as it doesn't leak, it's all good. And then you got your knock sensors right there. I kind of get that. Those need to be, you know, right next to the cylinders. It'd be cool if they were on the outside, but you know, exhaust and stuff, that's not too much of a concern. And then got the radiator fan out. Radiator, this is the condenser for the air conditioning. I already had the air conditioning system, all the refrigerant evacuated beforehand by an AC shop, so I don't have to do it. And yeah, I've already removed the coolant reservoir. I can come in here and, you know, paint all the black surfaces black, clean all the white surfaces off. I was thinking about getting new matting, but this matting kind of looks okay. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, that sort of looks all right. And, you know, maybe really clean the, you know, connectors on the outside so they don't have quite this icky dust on there. And yeah, new condenser, new flaps, radiator flaps, whatever you want to call those. I really think it'd make the truck look really snazzy. It already looks great. I can't wait to see this thing done. But our next big step is pulling this engine. So here is what our engine looks like on the stand, and I have to say it's quite wide. It's like a Y block instead of a V. The V angle is enormous. The lifter valley's huge. And I really like this coolant pass-through line they have on the very bottom of the lifter valley. Kind of see it right there. And then it goes up and connects to here where the heater core is. So rather than just run a line on the front, they chose to run one in the lifter valley. All right. Not the way I would have done it. But I'm glad it's out. A lot of the things still look good on it, like the exhaust manifolds. We'll probably just reuse those. But everything else, we'll probably reuse this pulley, that pulley, and that pulley, or damper, I guess. And yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to reuse these valve covers because there's some snazzy blue ones I'm thinking about buying. You know, rebuild the truck. You want it to look good, right? We can see, here's something interesting I noticed. Let's see if we can see in there. Oh, you can. Look how nice the valves look down in there. And they're kind of small because there's two for the intake side and one for the exhaust, tri-valve. But look how nice and clean it is for a 190,000 mile engine. There's cars today, newer cars, that don't have that clean of valves because it's port injected instead of direct injected. So it's always going to clean those valves off for you. So, you know, like the EcoBoost stuff, the new stuff, it only has direct injection, not port and direct. That's a problem, but that's thankfully one problem this engine design doesn't have. Its main problem lives in here with the cam phasers and the roller followers and the oil pump in there. So that's all going to be updated and changed when I rebuild this bad boy, and I will do my best to catalog that and point people in the right direction when they rebuild this engine. As far as the truck goes, now the Camaro's kind of on the ground. Camaro's usually in the sky, but now the truck's in the sky because the truck won't fit under the Camaro, but the Camaro will fit under the truck. So that's kind of my life for right this moment. And that's okay, I already have the Camaro chained up, so it'd be even really, really tough to steal, and who's gonna steal an empty truck? It's interesting to see that the, you know, engine compartment is completely barren. There's nothing in there, just a straight tunnel. It's kind of goofy, a little weird, a little surreal to see, especially on, like, not a classic car. You know, this is a fairly modern car, so interesting to see. I think I might get a new steering rack too while I'm at it, you know. We're already here. Might as well take it out while the engine's out of the way, kind of thing. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing that. And then I think I'm gonna redo this front diff seal because that's all wet and icky looking. I might paint this cross member as well, so that looks nice and snazzy. Excuse me for this next segment. I'm gonna have to talk over my big block Camaro idling. I'm trying to get the computer to learn how to idle better, and part of that's letting it just kind of run. So the last thing I want to do on this episode is come and take a look at the rear end. And the rear end's just weeping a little bit. A few years ago I redid the entire seal and everything. I haven't repainted it, but it looks like the paint job hasn't survived super great. And I got some rust treatment I want to try in it. I want to repaint the heads of the bolts too. I want to make it just look really nice, so that way when I put it back together, you know, I have a brand new truck. And this is part of that. So let's go ahead and take this off. Yay! Getting loose relatively easy. And now, I spoke too soon. For the record, you don't really need to do this if it's a little weepy on your rear end. I'm just doing it because I'm that particular and I want my stuff to be pristine when it goes back together. Take a look in there, everything looks great on this rear end. So we'll just go ahead and reuse that, which is nice. What I'm gonna do next is, see there's just this light surface rust on there already forming. What I'm gonna try is something I've never done before, which is a rust converting paint, I guess? I don't know, it's like a compound chemical. I kind of don't believe it, but it says in 20 minutes you'll have something that you can paint or apply another coat or whatever. I'm just gonna lap it on, wait the 20 minutes and see if it's changed, if any. I kind of doubt it, but it'd be neat to prevent that surface rust. It's been about half an hour and you know, it's really hard to see any kind of change, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Let's clean this stuff off. I mean, it's not like a huge amount changed. It's not like an enormous difference, maybe a little bit. If there is a change, it's not crazy different, but I really didn't expect it to be anyway. Okay, it's certainly an improvement. It's not like it's all the rust is like completely gone, miracle here, but yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. I think it's ready for some paint. So for the paint, I'm actually gonna use this undercoating. I know it's not exactly paint, but I've used it before on different parts of project vehicles, and I really like the result. So I'm gonna try it here on my rear differential cover, and it goes over everything and adheres like you would not believe. This stuff is wild. I really like it. It's a good product. No, I'm not sponsored or anything, although I wish I was. And I like to lay this on like medium thick for the first coat, and then decently thick, pretty heavy for the second. It kind of has that undercoating look to it, which is neat. Yeah, it's already looking way better. And then you let it... And the trick here is to let it sit for about a minute, or maybe 2, and then put on a heavy coat and then let it sit for a couple of hours. And then you'll be really surprised by how this looks. Now, the first coat's dried for about 2 minutes. I'm gonna lay it on for the second. I like to do the kind of perimeter first on something like this, and then kind of work my way up to the top. And there we go. Just let it sit for like an hour. So what I need to do next is just get some random cardboard and put my bolts in the holes I've already drilled out, so that way I can let them dry really efficiently and then paint them. And then as far as the paint goes, I'm just using some Rust-Oleum enamel. I really like this stuff, and I don't want to use the undercoating stuff just because it has a tendency to, you know, grow as it dries, and I don't want the bolt size changing on me. And when you do this with cardboard, just make sure that you don't have it completely against the cardboard itself, because then you will dry the bolts to the cardboard, and when you try to remove it, it can break them. Not the bolts, but the paint. I like to lap it on a little thick. There we go, good enough, let that dry. So I've got the cover back on. It's not entirely dry yet, but I got stuff to do, man. I can't sit here and wait for this undercoating to dry all day. It's taking way longer than I thought. I think it looks pretty good, especially for, you know, not like a show truck. And this RTV that I've used, this orange stuff, you can kind of see seeping out. It takes 24 hours to cure fully, so I'm gonna let it do its thing and fill this thing up tomorrow. All right, it's been 24 hours. We can see that the silicone is completely cured and hardened. Very cool. Come around to the front of the differential, pinion side. I've already removed the drain plug, and I'm gonna try something I've never tried before, and that's filling it with this bag type of gear oil. And it's full synthetic 75W40, and it already contains the limited slip additive, so that's pretty cool. Good for towing apparently and off-roading. I don't know. As long as it's full synthetic and the correct viscosity, I'm happy. So on these, you just gotta cut the top off. I've cut an enormous amount off just so that way it'll flow nice. Just keep it level in there. Oh yeah, this is way easier. Look at that! Oh, that's so much better than the old, like, bottle. Oh, I'm such a fan, dude. Oh, that's so much better. Look how much I put in there in just a few seconds. Oh, this is such the better way to go, dude. Okay, my new favorite way. The collapsible bottle. All right, filled up, fill port back installed, everything wipes down. Everything looking very snazzy. Yeah, it looks a lot better. It looks even better in person, but I'm happy with this. It looks a lot better than, it was kind of wet down here, and just, you know, years of use and seepage. I like to make sure it looks new, especially because if it's leaking and the fluid gets low and then you have to buy a new diff, and I really don't want to go through that, especially when this one is excellent. Yeah, all right. And I have to say, squeeze bottle version of gear oil, it's my new go-to. No, I'm not sponsored. just pointing out a very, very cool product. So that is the end of episode 1 on Project Billie. It is so good to get this project started. I can't wait to get my truck back. I can't wait for you guys to watch it and, enjoy it with me. And by the end of this, it's gonna be one sweet ride. And don't worry, I will be tabulating all the costs. I will include every single penny down to that penny, and you will know basically what it takes financially to get a older truck like this up and running and, being able to daily it and use it for work or play or whatever you want to do with it, rather than running out and spending almost $100,000 on a new pickup truck. Thank you so very much for watching. If you found this content interesting, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.